Encounters are confusing to know the power level of. Some you always choose, and others you rarely want. This is how likely I am to choose an encounter versus a decent event or merchant. Something like Poll and Tox Clocks, or Study and Snack Time, where there's something I have to pass up on in order to go to this encounter. Starting with the ones I almost never skip, anything that has to do with a pedestal, so like Enchants and Forja, and even B1 and B2. They give a direct power increase to your board. Some enchants aren't very impactful, while others are build defining. I almost never want to skip an enchant or upgrade. Hattie lets you spin the wheel for one of 6 random options. You can get 3 diamond tier loot items, the hat, which upgrades an item and sells for 16 gold, a random diamond tier skill, a random gold tier skill, an enchanted item, or 20 gold. The 20 gold is pretty useless because of how late you get it, and the enchanted item is hit or miss, but 4 out of the 6 options directly improve your comp, so choose Hattie. And the hat is extremely good. You can do some duplicate item shenanigans with it. Monster Ranch lets you choose from one of 5 loot items. You can get Cinders, Extract, plus ammo, plus crit, plus gold, plus XP, plus damage, plus freeze, minus cooldown for 1 item, minus cooldown for all items, regen, or the upgrade hammer. Feather and Insect Wing are the main ones you go for. Sometimes you whiff and you don't get anything useful, but cooldown reduction has been overpowered ever since like the first meta. Upgrade hammer and Snowflake are rare, but if you can use them, they're really good. Anytime you win a PvE fight, you get gold, XP, and an item or skill. It is one of the most efficient uses of an hour. And as long as your board is strong, you should be trying to get every PvE fight you can. Deadly Duel is on days 6 and 7, Epic Battle is on 8, 9, 10, Bounty Hunter is Vanessa only. I am not confident at all in the days shown in the tiers, but I think it gives you a good idea of where you should be expecting these encounters to show up. Let me know if there's a way I can make them all accurate. Investment Pitch is pig only, and you can gain 4 XP, upgrade your leftmost property, double the value of your leftmost item, or double your income. Dooley's Workshop is dually only, and you can choose a free friend, upgrade the core and gain 10% max health, or upgrade a friend. Both of these hero-specific encounters are must-takes. At worst, Investment Pitch is 4 XP, and at worst, Dooley's Workshop is 10% max health. The way I always know what's behind each encounter is with the encounter cheat sheet I made, and I have linked a high-quality version in the description. Now for the ones I want to choose, but I sometimes don't. Form can either give your leftmost item 25% crit chance, you spend 5 gold to give your weapons plus 10, you spend 10 gold to upgrade your leftmost weapon, and the last option costs $25 and can show up one of 2 ways, as either enchant your leftmost weapon with shiny or with lifesteal. Form is the strongest encounter straight up because it's a 50-50 to be able to enchant a weapon with shiny. But all of his options involve you having a weapon. So you need to have a good weapon on your comp in order to be able to choose Form. Form unfortunately won't be able to do anything if you don't have any weapons. I'm hoping that he doesn't show up if you don't have any, but I've only seen him 3 times, so I don't know. Pearl's Dig Site lets you choose a free item that can be from any hero or neutral. The reroll starts at a cost of 1 gold and it goes up by 1 each reroll. Don't waste all your gold digging, but it's still super strong, and you can at the very least roll a few times and find a gold item that sells for a lot. Definitely the most skill-intensive encounter. You can spend like 10 minutes rolling through 30 items, imagining how they could fit in your build, or what the power level is, or wondering if they're worth it to pivot to. I'll only skip this if my board is super strong and I barely have any gold. Aerodrome rolls the same as Pearl's Dig Site, but it lets you choose any encounter. If you have a lot of money, it's good to roll up to 10 gold, but then anything past that is so expensive. If I choose Aerodrome, I try and get at least 3 rerolls in there, and try and not have to just settle for a silver tier merchant. Mysterious Portal lets you visit a rare event or merchant, and it shows up kinda early, so it can be great to get a super powerful merchant or encounter early game. But I think Mysterious Portal is one of the most overrated encounters. It's so often I get thrown into a random merchant where all 3 items suck, and then it costs 8 gold to reroll. But the high roll possibilities make it really difficult to pass on the RNG portal. Economic Seminar is pig only, and lets you get 1 free economic item or skill, or you spend 4 gold and get 2 economic items or skills. It's really just good for your economy, and skills are so hard to come by outside of the level up in the PvE monsters. I might just take the XP, but it depends what my board looks like and what day I'm on. So many encounters are just XP givers, and I ignore the other options. Shrouded Figure, Bazaar, Mountain Pass, A Strange Mushroom, Lost Crate, and Jungle Runes I view as XP givers, and they are so good in the mid-game. In those first few days, XP maxing can result in your board's power level being too low, so it's important to skip XP when you don't have items that synergize. And in the super late game, XP might not even change the difference of when you'll level for a PvP fight, so it doesn't do anything there. It's important to count the XP bar and see if it'll make it to 8 before the end of the day. The mid-game is where XP really shines, because you should have a board that's good enough to face the elite PvE opponents, but the day isn't late enough for you to want to visit merchants with a lot of gold. But XP maxing and saving up your gold in the mid-game so that on those later days, when the higher tier and more expensive merchants show up, you're able to afford it. It's also just nice to save gold for Nufu or an enchanted item, so taking XP is super dependent on your situation. Shrouded Figure will either gain 5 to 10 gold, you spend 10 gold for 2 to 4 XP, or you spend 10 gold for 200 to 600 max health. The 2 to 4 XP is so strong, I will sell my stash items to get enough gold. 200 to 600 health is basically one level up's worth of HP, so I rarely take the max health option, but it is viable. Bazaar can gain 2 XP, get 3 small items from the Bazaar, spend 12 gold to get a diamond item for the Bazaar, and if you have business card, the XP option offers 3 XP. If I had a really bad board, maybe I'd consider another option, but since it always shows up in the mid-game, I'm always taking the 2 XP. Mountain Pass lets you gain 2 gold and 1 XP, gain 5 gold, spend $1 to gain 2 income, or the risky option. Risky could be a free item, 1 XP, or a monster fight from your current day or the next day. I see way too many people auto-pick risky and try and take the fight. Definitely pick risky if you have the board to be able to fight the monsters from your current day and the next day. But if you're 1 XP short of leveling before the next PvP fight, you need to take the guaranteed 1 XP and 2 gold, because it's probably not worth it to whiff with the free item trying to go for the fight. And on those early days when you're fighting a monster from the next day, it can be really difficult to win. A Strange Mushroom, get a free skill, gain 2 to 4 gold, or 1 XP. A Strange Mushroom also lets you buff your bushel. I love getting the free skill early to build around. I wish this encounter showed up on later days and more often, because it's actually a tough decision to choose between the free skill or the 1 XP. Unlike the rest of the XP options like Lost Crate and Jungle Ruins, Lost Crate gives you 2 gold and 1 XP, or gives you a small or medium item. And Jungle Ruins offers you 1 XP with no gold or 50 max health. Also, if you're Vanessa, it'll give you the option to choose a small item, and if you're Pig, you can gain 2 income. The 2 income isn't bad, but 50 max health is completely unpickable, and the devs already buffed it from 25 max health. Hopefully they can change some of the non-XP options on these encounters, because I have never picked some of them. If you aren't fully understanding why these XP options are so unbalanced, try imagining instead the options are 1, do nothing, or 2, lose 1 XP and gain a random item. When you make the opportunity cost the actual cost, it's super easy to see how detrimental it would be to not pick the XP. It's not that drastic, but the opportunity cost of passing up on guaranteed buff is difficult, but this whole next tier is difficult. Jules Cafe gives you temporary boost that lasts for the rest of the day. You can either gain 10% max health, give your heal items plus 50, or your weapons plus 25. If you have a weapon build and you're 4 and 1 or better, and you're really trying to get those 10 wins as early as possible before your build falls off, the plus 25 damage is a lot of stats, and it can really make the difference in a fight for that day. I consider this event a lot like Relax, where it gives you a huge advantage over a singular fight, and is totally worth it for the hour if it makes you win. If you don't have a weapon build, the 10% max health is probably only something I'm doing in the last few days, or if my build is already complete. But Jules Cafe is so dependent on my build, and it's really tricky to know when to choose it. Street Festival is a merchant and will offer you 3 heroes to buy items from that aren't your current hero. Also, if you have Ice Cream Truck, it'll remove one of those choices and give you an XP option instead. The game usually shows a merchant on the left, an encounter in the middle, and a free event on the right. Street Festival is a merchant, but sometimes it's buggy so it doesn't show up like that. And so choosing the Street Festival is a lot more difficult than just another encounter. If you know of a specific item on Mac, Stel, or Jules that would work perfectly for your build, definitely go to street festival and hope that one of them is there, because their item pool is only like 10 items. If you're kind of just going through whatever and you're sifting through dually items and all of them have to do with the core, it was kind of a waste of an hour. Artisan Dunes gives your leftmost weapon plus 5 damage, give a burn or a poison item plus 1, or you could double all of these options for 5 gold. It's a stat increase, so if you have a burn or poison item, it's obviously good. If I only have a weapon to buff, then I'll probably only settle if the other options aren't great. But then you have another decision on whether to invest the 5 gold. I will usually want to invest the 5 gold into more stats unless it's really early on or I know I'm not going to keep the item. In those early days, 5 gold is so much, so you have to be frugal. The Docks gives you 2 gold in either a weapon, tool, or shield item. And then there's a fourth option with Spyglass, Astrolab, and Star Chart that give you 5 gold and 1 XP. The secret event makes it better than the normal XP encounters, but the Docks is really just a glorified event, where the item pool is so large that maybe it'll be usable like 10% of the time, so it's really just like 4 or 5 gold. So when I'm playing Dually or Pig, I usually skip the Docks. Finn's Big Bite gives you 5% max health and either buffs your shield items plus 10, your heal items plus 20, or gives you 5 regen. I think this is bait on day 1 when it gives you the 5 regen, as long as it prevents you from being able to go to a merchant and level up for the PvP fight on day 1. The 5 regen is a lot of stats, so maybe in other metas it's worth it, but I think the plus 10 shield option is super underrated and is way better than the plus 5 regen sometimes. Early on, the 5% max health is completely useless, but later on it can be better than snack time. Eating Contest gives you 5 chocolate bars. You can either get 5 bronze ones for free, 5 silver ones for 5 gold, or spend 10 gold to get 5 gold chocolate bars. Obviously, if you have small item scaling for Pig or Cove, then this encounter is great. But 50 health isn't impactful enough, and 10 gold is too expensive for 150 health in the early game, so I'll settle for 150 health for 10 gold late game when my build's complete, but I try and avoid the chocolate bars without synergy. The gumball machine lets you buy up to 10 random gumballs, and it can be yellow, which gives your shield items plus 1, green, which gives you plus 10 max health, the blue gumball, which gives your items plus 1% crit chance, and the red one, which gives your items plus 1 damage. Gumball Machine is just like Eating Contest, where it's super viable with small item synergy and not great without it. 10 gold is just too expensive early game, and if you won't keep all your items around, it's just not even doing anything. And you pretty much need to have a weapon build in order for half the gumballs to even do anything. The blue gumball is one of the few ways to get crit, so it can be totally viable late game on weapon builds. I almost always buy 10 gumballs if I decide to go to the gumball machine. It's almost not even worth the hour for 10, so I don't see how it's worth it for less. And then we have the encounters that I usually skip. Lick Lick is sort of like a merchant. It gives you a free option for 5 gumballs or chocolate bars, or you can choose between 3 different items that buff stats. These items are medium items and they have a 4-second cooldown. They have 10 ammo and they lose their ammo permanently when used. So they buff your items permanently, but you have to keep them on your board in order to get the buff. It can buff your item's shield, crit chance, or weapon damage. Lick Lick is a pain. You basically need to have a medium useless item for 3 straight days of not choosing the elite monster. You have to invest into the cost in the item, invest into the board space, and it has to be buffing items that you're going to be planning on keeping. And the payoffs is just some mediocre buff. Super Syrup giving the crit chance to Dooley's crit core can be really good though, because you get the core early and you know you're going to keep it all game. Overall though, I think Lick Lick just takes so much to invest into and the payoff is barely anything. I am fine just never going to him even if it is slightly optimal. And the worst encounter is the Cult. The Cult can give you a silver ritual dagger, lose 10% max health and gain 25 regen, lose 20% HP and enchant an item with crit chance, lose 30% max health and gain a diamond runic double bow. The Cult is the only encounter that actively hurts you to go to. The silver runic dagger is like fine, but it only sells for 2 gold. Every other option takes away 10, 20, or 30% of your health. It is only in the fringiest of scenarios that I would consider losing 20% of my health past day 8. I would have to have the perfect item I want to crit enchant. Because unless you somehow wind up at the cult on day 4, you're going to have like 2,000 max health. And so losing 20% HP is 400. These items aren't really close to losing hundreds of health for. But if you can get there early, I guess you can choose it. The items aren't even that great though, so they're only really an improvement for the next couple days. I try and avoid the cult as much as possible. There are also some disabled encounters. Genie's Writ and Thieves Guild are so good that I might consider choosing their PvE matchup specifically to try and get the medallion or the lamp. Sparring Partner had its bugs, but it was pretty useless. And Deborah was the best encounter in the entire game and had to get removed immediately. This game is always changing and there'll be balance updates in the future. I'll update this tier list and encounter cheat sheet with some of the stuff I got wrong and some of the future changes.